Hi guys, Steve here, and on this video I'll be doing the unboxing and review of a BENQ Mobius EX3415R. It's a 1 millisecond, 144Hz, IPS, 34-inch ultrawide monitor. And spoilers, this monitor is fantastic, especially what you get for its price. BENQ gave me the monitor to review, as I told him I wanted to test it over 6 months before I give my thoughts on it. But this video is not a sponsored review, so I'm free to say what I want, which I would anyway. Okay, let's do a quick unboxing and I'll show you what you get before we get to the main event. This is the box it comes in. As you can see, it's huge, almost as big as my desk. That's the front. Underneath. And this is the side. There's some of its main features, but going over quickly, it's HDR 400. HDRI is BENQ's extra settings that gives more detail in a dark scene. 144Hz, 98% colour gamut, ultra wide resolution at 3440 by 1440. It's a 1900R curve monitor to align with your eyes so it's barely noticeable. 1 millisecond response time. An IPS screen for the best colours, an adjustable monitor stand, good built-in Trivolo speakers, a remote control, and it supports FreeSync and is compatible with G-Sync. Okay, let's open the box and see what we get. That's the overview. So we have a power cable. This is a UK one. Power brick. It's fairly small. A DisplayPort cable. A HDMI cable. A European plug. A remote control. When I first saw it I thought it was a nice bonus, but I didn't think I'd be using it much. It turned out to be a lot more handy than I thought. A USB hub cable to connect your monitor to the computer, so you can have extra USB ports on your monitor. And manuals and warranty. Instructions. What you get in the box. Mobius is BENQ's gaming range of monitors. And instructions how to put it together. And your warranty. This is a monitor's back plate to cover up all the cables, make it nice and neat. The monitor's base. Weighs quite a bit. It's made out of metal and plastic. That's the top. That's it from underneath with the foot pads. On the pictures the orange sides look really bright, but in real life they're darker and more understated. That's everything on a top layer, so let's look underneath. On the left is a monitor stand. That's really heavy. Again made out of metal and plastic. That feels very well built. You slot the bottom there into the base. Now for the screen, let's take it out of the box. And get it out of the bag. It's peeking at us under the covers. When I first saw that energy efficient sticker, I thought, oh, is that bad? So I looked online for other similar IPS monitors, and it turns out most of them have the same rating. I'll pick it up so you can see it better. And there's a new huge screen. As you can see, it has speakers at the bottom, and they turn out to be another bonus. Right, let's get it attached to the stand. Have a quick look at instructions. We need to put the stand together first. So take the stand arm and slot it into the base. Turn it upside down and screw both of them together at the bottom. Nice and simple. Make sure to do it tight. Push your handle down. There we go, there's the stand done. Nice and secure. Now you should put the screen back into the box onto the styrofoam to give it extra support because the screen's curved. Because I guess if you push down really hard while trying to mount the stand, if you push too hard you might bend or crack the screen. I'm going to add the stand outside the box only so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to use no pressure at all pushing down on the monitor. I'm just slide it in holding all the weight of the stand and it clicks in and there you go. I do like the look of it. It's a cross between gaming and professional. And silver, black and grey always looks stylish. That's the front of it. And let me show you the monitor movement range. So it goes from its highest point to its lowest. Back to its highest again. Angled down and angled up. Then angled left and angled right. Then slanted to the side if your desk's uneven. Let's have a look at all the connections. First a power socket, then two HDMI 2.0 ports, a display port, a headphone jack, USB hub port connected to your computer, then the two USB ports. I'll connect the cables, a USB hub, the display port, a HDMI and the power cable. It would have been nice if there was some kind of hook to keep the cables locked down, but just push your cables in, get the back plate, then click it into place. There you go, we're all connected up. Let's have a look at its buttons. On the front right we have one to change your HDR settings. I'll show you that working shortly. Then underneath on the right we have three more buttons. The one on the left is to change your input between DisplayPort or HDMI. The one in the middle is for the menu. Then the one on the right is power on and off. It gives off a soft light when the monitor's on to remind you to turn it off if you shut your computer down, so you don't forget. The monitor's curved to give you better visual alignment, but when you're in front of it you barely notice it, if at all. You'll only really see it if you're looking from a side or above. Before I got it I thought it might be a problem doing work with a curved monitor. Maybe having a problem drawing straight lines, judging the distances between blocks in video editing, or if I created a picture in Photoshop it might be distorted from a curve. But I'm happy to report there's absolutely no distortion whatsoever, so you can do all your professional work tasks on it without any problems. As you can see there's a vent in the top, but the monitor gives off virtually no heat at all, if any. And because the screen doesn't have the highest HDR settings, you don't get excessive heat build-up, so there's no need for a fan inside the monitor whirring away, like on other monitors. I was also concerned that if I went for an ultra-wide, yes I would get a lot of extra width on the screen, but would I lose any height? But when I put my old 24.5 inch monitor next to it, as you can see I actually gain height. Here I've aligned the visible screens at the bottom, and if I go up, you can see there's about an inch or more of screen at the top from the ultra-wide. Now onto the picture. With me upgrading from a smaller TN panel to this BENQ 34-inch ultrawide IPS, when I sat in front of it and turned it on for the first time, the first two things I thought were, this screen size is huge, and the second was, those colours are amazing. It's hard to judge its size in this video, so I'll show you it in situ with the rest of my stuff. I sit with everything set up around it, and no, my desk is never normally that clean. Keep in mind that if a monitor's whites get too bright, my camera will try and turn down its brightness, so it's actually brighter in real life than you might see it in this video. The only slight irritation I've found is when you're booting your computer up. If you're looking at a solid block of colour, you'll notice a slight greyness at the top and at the bottom. But this is a non-problem because as soon as there's a picture on screen, you don't see it. Let me show you some examples. If you're on your desktop, working or gaming, you'll never notice it, apart from a few seconds when your computer's starting up. What you will notice, however, is how bright and vibrant your colours are on this IPS screen with a 98% colour gamut, so you can use it for work and gaming. I've had this monitor for almost a year and it still impresses me how bright and good the colours are. Right, let's get on to a main advantage of getting an ultra-wide. I've switched picture by picture on, which is a huge selling point that I'll get onto in a minute. It divides the screen up into your normal 16:9 ratio, and I've left the right hand side black so you can focus on the picture. This is the image you see on a non-ultra-wide monitor. It doesn't matter how big the screen is, even if it's a 32-inch, the picture you're only going to be able to see is going to be this. You're used to it, you think it's fine, you've been using this screen size for years, and it's done you well up to now. However, with an ultra-wide, this is what you're able to see, and the difference is striking. After the initial, wow, that looks amazing, it feels more immersive, more open, like you're inside the game more. When you're looking at a centre, if you have a monitor close to you, the screen will fill all the vision you can focus on. With your old screen ratio, it's like looking through a window at your game, but with an ultra-wide, it's like you being in the game. It takes a bit of getting used to and you'll be sitting there with a smile on your face. After playing on this BENQ monitor for a while, I realised, damn, I've been missing out on these colours and this screen size for all this time. What other games can this monitor improve? So you get excited going through your game library to see which ones look better on an ultra-wide. So let me show you some. This is Death Stranding in the normal format. Thought the grass colours on the IPS monitor would look good. And this is it at ultra-wide. For some reason it's one of a few games that haven't added support for resolution 3440 by 1440p, and that's why you've got small black bars down the side. But you get the idea how much better it is. This is Cyberpunk 2077 at normal format. And this is it at ultra-wide. BENQ's promotional material focuses on how good this monitor is with driving sims, but to be honest I found it good with every kind of game. This is Forza Horizon 5 on standard format. And this is how much screen you would see when playing on a normal TV as well. It looks fine, but when compared to ultra-wide, yeah, you'd be saying wow a lot if you got yourself an ultra-wide. And you won't want to go back to standard format, because the screen view seems too compact and small. Ultra-wide is just so much more immersive. It's also really good for space sims like Star Citizen. The extended vistas are a lot more impressive, as you get to see much more of a background. When you're inside the cockpit, because the ultra-wide monitor fills almost your entire view, as you change your view in game it feels like you are looking out the windows. It almost feels like you're inside a spaceship. But bear in mind for this game at the moment you're going to need a good PC to run it, because of all the extra pixels you'll need to render. Ultrawide is also very good for strategy games. When you've got huge armies to survey, you could get them all on screen at once, so you don't have to move your monitor view from side to side so much. MOBAs are also better on ultrawides. This is how small the screen is on normal format. I always find it cramped and I accidentally clicked the map on the bottom right sometimes. But with ultrawide everything's spaced out better and you get to see more of the arena, so you can see where the enemies are and you've got less chance of getting ambushed. Then of course ultrawides are better for playing shooter games on. This is CSGO in a normal screen format. And this is widescreen. With the extra view on your sides you can see the enemy coming, before you would be able to with a standard screen format. The screen might be running at 144 FPS, but keep in mind my camera only records at 50. So if you see the lower frames it's because of that. When playing it by eye I couldn't see a difference between a 240Hz monitor and this one. Apart from this one I had a much bigger screen and it had much better colours. Both ran smoothly, so you can do your work and play your favourite games on this monitor. Plus if you wanted a little extra help on a shooter game, you can choose a lower, non-ultra wide resolution, so it stretches a picture wider, makes all the enemies fatter so they're easy to hit. The monitor has FreeSync Premium for AMD graphics cards, but it's also G-Sync compatible for those of us who have NVIDIA graphics cards, so you don't get screen tearing when you're playing fast-paced games. Now onto the monitor's HDR, which gives improved contrast and brighter and more accurate colours for those games and apps that support it. To turn it on manually, go to Display Settings, scroll down and select Use HDR On. But to be honest, there's no real reason to do that for your desktop, because if you were one of a few people who are editing HDR content, like HDR videos or photos, then you would get a professional HDR monitor anyway. HDR for most of us will be just for purely gaming. This is BENQ's HDR-I setting, which gives you a more advanced alternative setting over the standard HDR. There's a game, then cinema HDR-I setting, then just normal HDR, then HDR off at the bottom. I'll read what the marketing material says because it's supposed to help you in other ways as well. HDR-I offers intelligent on-screen adjustments. Its intelligent clarity adjustment satisfies you with clear and realistic details in dark scenes by maintaining on-screen clarity. HDR-I can also enhance SDR content, which I think is photography, with its emulated HDR feature to closely resemble native HDR, for more enjoyable and impressive viewing regardless of the source material. So it sounds like it gives better photograph viewing results, in case you haven't got thousands to spend on a professional HDR monitor. I'm changing the game mode settings with remote control at the moment. You saw me press the HDR-I button in the front bottom right, and you can also use the buttons underneath to change your menu settings as well. Basically, BENQ's HDR-I settings give you 3 options to pick from, where you just normally have one standard HDR setting. Okay, let me show you what a different HDR settings look like in game. You don't have to go to the display settings to turn HDR on and off. If a game supports HDR, this BENQ monitor will turn HDR on automatically. This is normal HDR. This screen's certified up to 400 nits brightness. This is gaming HDR-I. And try and remember that my recording camera will try and auto-correct the colours and brightness if I get too strong. It's switching to the cinema HDR setting. That's really bright. Then back to the standard HDR setting. I'll flip through them all again. Having 3 HDR settings on this monitor is a bonus over the standard one, as you can select the HDR setting for the specific game you're playing. I showed you this setting so you can see the whites, blues and greens. And as you can see, the colours look really nice and vibrant. Let's see it when the sun's setting. Just get into position. Okay, this is normal HDR. Gaming HDR-I. Then cinema HDR-I. Then back to normal HDR. I'll scroll through them all again, and it's nice having the option to pick the one you like best. This is Death Stranding with HDR on. I wish I'd had more ultra-wide screen resolutions. Switch to Game HDR-I, Cinema HDR-I, and back to normal HDR. There are only some games that support HDR, but you can just Google the list for ones that do. This is Cyberpunk 2077 with HDR on. I'll change it to Game HDR-I, then to Cinema HDR-I, then back to normal HDR. It's up to you to pick which one you like best. And this is an F1 racing game with HDR on. With this IPS screen, the reds, greens and blues are absolutely fantastic. The colours are so much more vibrant on an IPS monitor. Then you combine that with the size and the immersion of the Ultrawide at 3440 by 1440, then add the fast 144 frames a second for a screen this size, 1 millisecond refresh rate with HDR, and you have an absolutely fantastic monitor that I'm really pleased with. But there's still more. I've been looking for a new monitor for over 2 years. And there's always been something wrong with the ones coming out, like it's not IPS, or the frame rate's not fast enough, or that the HDR's 1000 nits brightness, but the screen gets so hot it needs a fan inside, and you get a white halo around all the white bits. But one of the most important things I was looking for, something that all manufacturers have seemed to overlook and have missed out on their promotional material, is does the monitor have picture by picture? Are you able to divide the monitor screen up? One of my biggest fears from going from a standard screen format to an ultrawide is, will I like the ultrawide and will I be able to work with it? I'm a YouTuber and streamer, and the dominant format that most monitors are in and videos are watched in is 16:9. Will I be forced to make every video in the ultrawide format now? But with the BENQ EX3415R, the answer is no, because you get the best of both worlds. You can play and record videos in ultrawide whenever you want. Then, if you need to play or record in normal format, you can turn picture by picture on and divide the screen into two. The only reason why the right hand side is black is that I've not connected a HDMI cable up to a computer yet. As I've shown you, this monitor has 3 inputs, so you can connect it to another computer or console, or connect it to the same computer, which I'm going to do now, as I want to show you the different picture by picture modes and picture in picture. Right, this is picture by picture off, and you just get the normal ultrawide display, and I'm going to use a remote to turn picture in picture on. And we get a little window from the second output in the top right. You can't change the size or positioning of that window, that's just a fixed setting. In this mode you can play the game on the main screen and look at a website in the smaller window, or swap them around. Right, let's change it to the second mode, go into settings, let's have half and half. The next mode's a picture by picture. As you see, this divides the screen into two. One output goes to one side and another output goes to the other. I suppose you'd use this if you were looking at 2 sets of documents from 2 different computers. I've got both inputs just coming in from one computer at the moment. Then we get to the third and main setting, which I use all the time, is where you have a standard screen ratio on the left and the rest of the screen in a bar on the right. So if you're going to get an ultrawide, make sure it has this picture by picture function. I know some of the old ultrawides don't, and most manufacturers miss it off their promotional material as I don't see its importance, but it's vital if you want to make standard ratio vids. This is how I work. I have my standard gaming screen on the left and the folder on the right to show all the recordings I've done to make sure they're working correctly. You don't want to record hours of gameplay to then find out after your video recording software hasn't worked and your file's corrupt because you're alt-tabbed out. That's happened sometimes in the past with NVIDIA Shadow Play software. And it's really annoying as you have to record the entire video again. But with this ultrawide's picture by picture mode, you can check your file preview to make sure it's recording correctly. Speaking of NVIDIA Shadow Play, has an option where it's always recording and you can save the last 5 minutes. It's always on, so if you keep switching between picture by picture mode, sometimes Shadow Play doesn't record it, but it seems a lot better with recent NVIDIA drivers. And I've not tried it with AMD's recording software. Or instead of your save folder, you can have a web browser on the right hand side. So you can be playing on the main screen, then if you want to find anything out you can search it on the right side. So it saves you from having 2 monitors on, because with this ultrawide and picture by picture mode it's a 2-in-1. If you're getting this monitor to replace another, then you can use your old monitor as a third screen, like I've done here with mine, and that'll give you more than enough desktop space to do your streaming. Before, with 2 standard monitors, I found everything really cramped up, but now with the ultrawide it gives you 2.5 screens. And this is how I have everything set up when I'm live streaming. A game screen on the left, then OBS on the top right, the bottom right is spare space for my controls or browser, then my Twitch stream and chat in the top right of the second monitor, and the YouTube stream and chat in the bottom right of the second monitor. And my live streaming's been a lot easier since I've had a setup like this. The BENQ monitor works absolutely fine by itself. However, I've found one annoying problem if you connect a second monitor. I don't know what causes it, if it's a monitor with picture by picture mode, if it's a setting with Windows or an NVIDIA driver. So please let us know in the comments below if you know what it is. And it's if you connect 2 monitors up to the same computer, you've turned your second monitor off because you don't need it, or your browsers and windows on the main ultrawide screen. When turning the ultrawide off for some reason, like to save power when you go for a rest, when you turn it on again, all the windows and browsers that were on the main screen, some of them have gone onto the second monitor that's turned off, and others have gone onto the picture by picture mode on the second screen that you can't see. And that's only when you've got a second monitor connected, with all 3 screens coming from the same computer. I turn the second monitor on and you've got some screens here. I'll drag those back across to the main one. Then I put the ultrawide in picture by picture mode. And you've got the rest of the windows hidden here. Like I say, I've got no idea what causes this. It might have nothing to do whatsoever with a monitor. It might be Nvidia, Windows, or having all the monitors plugged into one computer. I'm just letting you know because it's a situation you might find yourself in if you use two monitors. However, there is two easy ways to stop this from happening. The first is to unplug the second monitor's HDMI cable when you're not using it, so your system just sees one monitor. Or a second option, which I did, is to buy a $10 HDMI switch, where if you're not using the second monitor, you just press a button and it switches to a port with no signal. The right monitor's gone blue, so there's no signal connected, and your system's just seeing the one BENQ monitor. You will have to go into picture by picture mode again to move your windows across, but now when you turn your monitor off and on, all the windows will stay on the same screen you've left them. And that's how you sort this situation if it happens with this or any other monitor. And if you know what causes this, let me know in the comments. Obviously, one of the best things about having an ultrawide monitor is you can view browser windows side by side very easily. There's enough space to have pages next to each other, and you can read the text and look at the information you want. The ultrawide screen removes the irritation you get from a normal format screen, of having the text too small if you try to put the pages side by side, or having overlapping windows. It's just less stressful to use an ultrawide. Plus, if you're somebody who loves to watch movies, you can finally see them in the correct format without having black bars at the top and bottom. Something that's always bugged me because it's a waste of screen and makes a picture smaller even if you buy a massive TV. But with this ultrawide, it's the first time I can watch a film at home without bars. And in fact, because you're sitting in front of your monitor and that it's a 34-inch screen, the picture is much bigger and I can see far more detail than I would with a huge TV. Okay, let's talk about the integrated 2.1 channel 5-watt woofers, Trevolo calibrated speakers. Normally, I'd like a monitor with the thinnest bezel around the screen as possible. I just want to see all screen. However, most monitors have a bezel at the bottom, and usually it's just dead space and doesn't do anything. But BENQ have used that space to put a good sound system in there, with a DSP chip to give enhanced and better sound, so you don't have to have external speakers or sets of wires cluttering up your desk. I wear a headset most of the time, but in the summer when it's too hot to wear them, I use these speakers instead. So they're another added bonus that you can use when you want. I'll play you samples of music and game sounds so you can see what they're like, and cycle through the 5 different mode settings. But keep in mind you're hearing the sound coming out the speakers, getting recorded by the camera mic, then being replayed through your speakers. Now onto gun sounds. The sound will cut when I switch between the modes.
Fortify your position.
just pick whichever mode you like the best sound from. Now racing. Each audio mode is tailored to a specific game you're playing. As you could hear, the racing mode is better for racing games, FPS is better for shooters, and so on. Then on top of this you have gaming modes, which change both the picture and sound settings with a click of a button to the best options for what kind of game you're playing. I'll pull over so you can see the screen changes better. Look at the car shadow, the road, and the sky and grass changes. And you can change your picture even more with the HDR settings. So yeah, I didn't think I'd want or need the speakers, as everyone expects monitor speakers to be pretty rubbish and give out a cheap tinny sound. But here I was happily wrong. The sound from them's really good. They free up a lot of space on your desk, you can use them when you don't want to wear your headset, and I would miss them if I had a monitor without speakers like this.
Hey, did we lose a biker?
This monitor also has BENQ's proprietary eye care technology for viewing comfort. If you get eye strain, headaches or blurred vision, you don't need to buy an external filter to put over your screen. You can adjust the brightness, reduce the blues and alter the colour temperature, giving you a more comfortable viewing experience. And finally, let's talk about remote control and go through the menu settings. I never had a monitor with a remote control before. I thought, why would you need it when you can just reach out and touch your buttons under the monitor to access the menu? However, I was wrong, and I use a remote control all the time, as it's just so much faster and more convenient. Instead of fiddling about with the buttons underneath the monitor to access menu systems, go back and forth, and try and find the mode and settings you're after, with the remote you've got everything in front of you, accessible straight away with just a click of a button. It's another thing you never thought you'd actually need until you use it, and you'd really miss it if you didn't have one. The remote is well made, comfortable, and well laid out. I've used it thousands of times, it's never gone wrong, and with it I don't use the buttons underneath the monitor to access a menu anymore, but they're there if you prefer them. Now onto the different settings. The button in the top left is to turn the monitor on and off. Top right is to select your input. Choose between your DisplayPort or your HDMI sockets. Top middle left is all your HDMI settings. Game HDRI, Cinema HDRI and Display HDR. Middle top right is the game modes, which change the screen settings and the sound. RPG, racing game and FPS. Middle bottom left is picture by picture mode that splits the screen into two. I've used that thousands of times when recording. The middle button is a main menu option. That takes you to the settings you've already selected. Then you can change them here on the quick menu. Game mode, brightness, volume and low blue light for eye care, or go down to the bottom for the full menu. That takes you to input again. Then you've got quick menu. All the colour plus HDR modes. Multi-input is picture and picture. Then you've got eye care, which we've just covered. Audio has your volume and all your audio modes. System takes you to all the monitor system menus. On-screen display settings, language, display time and OSD lock. Auto power off and you can select the time. LED indicator on or off. The display mode. RGB range, your monitor's information, what settings are in now, and reset all. And the button in the middle right has all your audio modes, and that's all your menu options. The stand base is an open low slope, so if you want to write or eat something at your desk, you can easily move the keyboard out of the way. So what are my final thoughts on this BENQ Mobius EX3415R monitor? I love the size and the bright vibrant colours, and I'm so glad it has picture by picture so I can shoot normal format videos. At 1 millisecond 144Hz, the screen's fast and good for gaming, plus with its colour accuracy and large workspace, it's good for work as well. It does everything I want and more, and has opened my eyes to things I didn't think I would use but now I do. The only annoyance I found is if you plug a second monitor into the same computer, then turn them off and the windows go to the other screens. But I don't know what causes that, it might not be the monitor, but if I found out what it is I'll let you know in the description box below. But what you get for your money, this BENQ EX3415R is fantastic. And if you can get it on sale like an Amazon Prime Day, it's an absolute bargain. Would I buy one? Yes. Would I buy one again? Yes. Would I recommend it to my friends? Absolutely. The only downside I see is in the future when I need to get a new monitor, as that one's probably not going to have everything this one does, unless BENQ releases an updated version. This monitor does everything I want. Go check if it does everything you want too. Thank you for watching, I hope this video was informative and has helped you out. And if it has, please like and subscribe if you've not already. Click the bell notifications on all to get notified when I upload next. Check out the other videos at the end and I'll hopefully see you again. Goodbye.